In late 2019, a virus struck out called coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. With the disease spreading quickly across the globe, many countries went into lockdown and issued its citizens to go into quarantine. With this, schools had to change their policies to offer remote learning to a plethora of students in order to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. The data from the graph shows the percentage of students in different learning environments. Out of 48 million students in grades K through 12 in the United States, 44% of them received remote instructions, while 21% received hybrid instruction, which hybrid refers to that a student can choose between either remote or in-person instruction. But with these two percentages together, you can see that a majority of students attended some sort of school that offered remote learning. With this comes our research question. During the COVID-19 pandemic, to what extent does remote learning affect the AP scores of students in the United States? Good morning, I'm Shanna Bird.
I'm Matthew Freeman.
I'm Carla O'Toole.
I'm Gabriella Lynn.
I'm Lara Palacios. And our argument is learning from home negatively affected the AP scores of students due to financial instability, digital divide, and sudden changes in policy. In the article, Parents' Perception of Distance Learning During the COVID-19 Pandemic, published by the Journal of Education and Learning, the author states, the cost of children's education increases, the expenditure becomes greater. Parents have to spend money on resources in order for their kids to maintain education and participate in online learning. A parent interviewed in the study stated, we had to buy internet packages so that children could access online learning resources. We are also forced to buy mobile phones so that children can follow learning. Parents struggled with finances brought up by online learning since their jobs were being interrupted. Lays also said, the decline in economic productivity because parents had to take care of children while working. As you can see here on this graph, published by the Journal of Education and Learning, 54% of parents experienced increased spending. The financial struggles parents endured affected their children's education because without the devices and other resources needed, they couldn't actively engage in online learning.
This connects to financial instability, which was shown in the previous slide. If a parent has a low income, then they are not able to support their child with correct technology. This shows that they will have an increase in digital divide. Digital divide is the gap between students who have technology and students who do not. COVID-19 intensifies digital divide because of the different income ranges students have and during quarantine. This graph is from Pew Research Center, a well-known non-partisan organization. As you can see, students were not able to complete their schoolwork because they did not have access to a computer at home. This is due to most of lower income. This connects to our research question because if students do not have correct technology, then they are not able to complete their schoolwork or contact their teacher, which will decrease their grades.
As demonstrated in the graph, you can see here only 27% of students had home internet services they needed to fully and consistently participate in online learning. As you can see in the second pie chart, only 56% of students had access to the devices they needed to fully and consistently participate in online learning. As demonstrated in the graph, the majority of students didn't have access to Wi-Fi. Therefore, this negatively impacted their AP scores because they didn't have the Wi-Fi they needed to learn the material for the AP exams.
Sudden changes in policies due to AP tests. In 2020, College Board administered the test online due to COVID-19. There was many issues, abundant of issues with the AP test that students had when they were on the exam. This caused an uproar for students and teachers. However, in 2021, College Board added the face-to-face option as well as the online option. Therefore, if the student did not have proper technology, then they were forced to take the test in face-to-face. As you can see in both of these graphs, 2020, 2021, most of the students decreased attendance of taking the AP exam due to not having the correct technology.
On average, teachers had to wait 3 to 4 weeks for school districts to provide essential guidance. Trainees also spent time waiting, which is time lost learning how to teach a class. This caused us a problem at the time. It was unpredictable whether or not College Board would change their AP exams. For example, continuing to give a shorter version of the exam or reverting back to the original methods.
Despite all the factors that may have limited the amount of instruction and learning opportunities for AP students, these students actually surpassed scores from previous years. The graph seen here represents the contrasting scores of students in 2020 and in previous years. It identifies the average percentage of students that received a score 3 to 5, which is passing in the 5-level system that schools use to score students. If we combine these scores and calculate the average percentage increase in these 3 states, it can be seen that there was a 13% increase in passing scores in Georgia, there's a 10% increase in passing scores in Mississippi, and there's a 6.9% increase in passing scores in South Carolina. However, due to the circumstances that the pandemic has put College Board in, they dramatically altered their exam. Not only did the exam participation decrease, but many exams were shortened in time and in content. Although the exam scores have increased, they can't be compared equally to scores in previous years because they aren't under the same conditions. It can't be said that scores have increased due to better education, but scores have increased because the expectations and the content on the exams have been easier for students. The most prominent solution that we came up with was if schools provided students with laptops and Wi-Fi hotspots, because depending on a student's location and financial situation, it can't be expected that every student has the supplies to participate in school. And through the studies, it can be found that there's a lot of pressure put on parents to supply their students with these resources, so that they can participate in school year. So if schools would provide students with these resources, it would allow students to have the proper resources to succeed through these uncertain times.
However, a big limitation to the solution we provided would be funding. If schools aren't providing students with proper resources, then that is most likely because they don't have enough funding. For example, one of the schools that demonstrates our solution would be Lake Nona High School. Lake Nona High School provided students with hotspots and laptops, which helps them connect with their school and the teachers, guiding them to succeed. This is our works cited. Thank you. Any questions?
All right, Shauna, we'll start over here with you. Describe how the content of your team presentation changed as a result of your group discussions.
So, one of the aspects of our presentation that changed a lot was our argument. At the very beginning, when our team came together, we decided to focus on the negative aspects, but while doing our individual research, one of our team members, Matthew, found more positive aspects to remote learning than was negative. So we changed our argument, focusing on the positive aspects. However, when creating the presentation, we all came together with our RRs and found that the majority of our team members had focused on negative aspects, and so we changed it back to negative.
All right, thank you. Ella, in the future, what change would you make to your group norms, and how would you expect that to improve your team presentation?
In the future, maybe we should communicate more outside school hours, either in person or virtually. That way we could have it more organized.
Okay. Matt, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem?
In my opinion, I think Carly had the biggest impact on my understanding, because her IR was about the effect on students, and that's the main focus for her entire presentation, is what happened to this, what affected the students the most during Corona.
Okay. Val, in what way did your team's resolution make you think differently about your own individual research?
Well, our team resolution was that schools would provide funding, and my IRR was about how parents didn't have finances to provide these resources for their children, so that's how I changed it.
All right, and Carly, now that you've finished, everything's done, is there any gap you can see in your team's research?
I see that we could have provided more evidence on the solutions with more examples of schools that provided more funding.
You guys are done.